partnering banks in the Gambia. I wish to make this presentation to our beneficiary of our ICT in schools connectivity program, St. Joseph Senior Secondary School. Thank you very much, Western Union.
Mohamed S. Jallo, GRTS.
Well, you can also follow that story and other GRTS programs live on our website. That is at www.grts.gm. There you can also monitor GRTS Radio Live. We're going to take a short break now. The news continues in just a moment. Welcome back to GRT's News, the news outside the Gambia. Now, Christmas Day celebrations in Russia took the form of massive protests in the country as tens of thousands of people protested in major towns and cities calling for the annulment of the results of the recent parliamentary polls. Meanwhile, former Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev has cramped up pressure on Vladimir Putin, urging him to step down. And Iran is conducting a massive naval exercise in the strategically important waters in the Strait of Hormuz. The strait is used by 40% of the world's oil transport, and Pope Benedict XVI has delivered his traditional Christmas message to the world, urging nations to help victims of the famine in the Horn of Africa. We have details of those stories and others in this roundup of news.
Another round of mass rallies was held in Russia on Christmas Day. Tens of thousands of people joined protests across the country to demand that results of the parliamentary elections be cancelled and that a new poll be held. Former President Mikhail Gorbachev was among those invited to speak at the rally. He urged Vladimir Putin to resign.
When I resigned from the presidency in 1991, no one had asked me to step down. But I explained why I had taken that decision. Putin should do the same. It would be best, because then he'll be remembered for his positive achievements.
Iran is undertaking 10 days of naval maneuvers. Ships will be deployed east of Hormuz, where 40% of the world's maritime traffic of oil occurs. Rumors of possible naval activity earlier this month caused a spike in oil prices at a time when tensions were high between the U.S. and Iran over a U.S. naval base in Bahrain. Hundreds of Islamists in Jordan staged an angry protest outside the offices of the Prime Minister in the capital Amman. Over the last few days, tensions have risen over an incident that occurred early last week in the north of the country, when police used tear gas to break up a demonstration over reforms and government corruption. Islamist leaders qualified the heavy-handed tactics of police as terrorist. Pope Benedict XVI gave his traditional Christmas message today. Broadcast in 65 languages, the Pope's message urged nations to help famine victims in the Horn of Africa. He called for an end to the bloodshed in Syria, as well as for reconciliation in Africa's Great Lakes region and between North and South Sudan. The Pope said that Christ had brought a message of reconciliation and peace.
A series of deadly bomb blasts have rocked cities and towns in Nigeria, killing a number of Christmas celebrants. Majority of the deaths occurred at the church near the capital Abuja, with reports saying 20 people died there. The radical militant sect Boko Haram says it carried the Christmas Day attacks across Nigeria. We have more on that story in this report.
Celebrations at the St. Teresa Church in Madala, near the Nigerian capital Abuja, turned to tragedy when a bomb exploded, killing at least 20 people. Christmas Mass had just ended. The blast was meant to kill as many people as possible. The number of injured is still unknown. The church could hold up to 1,000 people. A few minutes later, another bomb exploded outside a church in the central city of Jos, hundreds of kilometers away. One person was killed. Witnesses say that 3 more attacks against Christians were carried out in the north of the country, 2 in Damatur and the 3rd in Gadaka. The radical Islamist sect Boko Haram has claimed responsibility for the bombing in Madala. On Christmas Eve of last year, Boko Haram carried out a series of bombings in Jos. The Vatican has called today's attacks blind and absurd and said they would only inflame hatred.
And let's now take a look at the sports now. With less than a month to go before the start of the Africa Nations Cup tournament to be co-hosted by Gabon and Equatorial Guinea, excitement is building up ahead of the finals. Construction work is still underway in Gabon, but officials there are optimistic they will finish work in time for the finals. But as we hear in this report, many locals are not happy with the outsourcing of building works to foreigners, particularly Chinese contractors.
In Gabon, posters advertising next year's Africa Cup of Nations are everywhere. Excitement's building up for the tournament, which kicks off on January 21st. In the weeks before the start of the event, building sites are the scene of frantic activity.
Progress on this site is excellent. Even if the intersection is not completed in time for the Khan, it's not a problem. It's been a praiseworthy scheme.
Workers have been sent to the sites throughout the weekend to ensure the building projects are complete. At the brand new Chinese-built Friendship Stadium, adjustments are being made to ensure readiness. Some locals are disappointed more local jobs were not created during the €46 million project. Chinese workers did most of the construction, while locals did low-paid tasks.
We expected to be paid 700 francs, but we only got paid 500. That's why we're making this pay claim.
The young Gabonese who worked on this site have been forgotten. They toiled here with a great deal of commitment. What happened here is deplorable for these Gabonese laborers who gave their work in a spirit of patriotism. The Africa Cup of Nations is supposed to be an economic shot in the arm for Gabon, and local jobless were hoping for employment. The development projects, including several massive Chinese-built hydro and mining sites underway around the country, require mostly skilled labor. In Libreville, questions have been asked about the lack of hotel beds during the football tournament. 4,000 rooms will be officially available. But officials claim local people will step in and offer their rooms to fill the shortfall.
Quick check of the sports day before we end the news. A reminder of the headlines. Christmas fever has gripped Banjul as celebrants turn out in numbers to commemorate the birth of Jesus Christ. Herds of dock workers have stormed one of President Jammeh's farms in Dobong to complete months of work on a massive groundnut farm. Pope Benedict XVI has delivered his traditional Christmas sermon calling on the world's rich and powerful nations to help victims of the debilitating famine in the Horn of Africa. And a series of devastating bomb blasts have rocked towns and cities in Nigeria, killing scores of Christmas Day celebrants. The feared militant group Boko Haram says it is behind the attacks. You can follow that story and all the GRTS programs live on our website. That is at www.grts.gm. There you can also monitor GRTS Radio Live. That is all in the news. Thank you for joining us. Do have a very good night.
Recall that some time back, the Gambia has won an internationally acclaimed award which is called Future Policy Award 2011. And this was won on the basis of